This morning, brace for chaos. Police out in force in Melbourne as protesters vow to take to the streets for a fourth day of demonstrations. The earthquake cleanup continues. Melbourne mopping up as aftershocks hit. Freedom move forward again. Why New South Wales could be heading out of lockdown even earlier than expected. And honouring the Duke, an incredible look at the life of Prince Philip told through the eyes of his family.
This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
Good morning. More aftershocks of Rock, Victoria following yesterday's terrifying earthquake. Chapel Street remains closed as inspectors check historic buildings potentially on the verge of collapse. Georgia Comensoli is live for us. Georgia, good morning. A clean-up has been going for hours.
And we're here at Betty's Burgers, the scene that had the biggest impact from yesterday's earthquake. The majority of the debris and bricks have now been cleared away, but crews are here and they've blocked off a section of around 200 metres of Chapel Street because half of the building is still missing and it's clearly unsafe for pedestrians and motorists below. Now, the restaurant owner of Betty's Burgers spoke earlier on Sunrise. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
When we got here yesterday morning, it was a bit surreal. It felt a bit like a war zone. You know, the street obviously had debris all over it, and you know the side of our building had come away. So yeah, quite a shock when we turned up here first thing yesterday morning.
The earthquake hit 180 kilometres away from where we're standing right now in Lycola, which is near Mansfield. But this sort of damage is the last thing Chapel Street needed. This area in Windsor is known for its restaurants and eateries, and there are now fears that people won't be coming back to the area for some months to come. Engineers say it will be at least 4 months until office workers and Betty's Burgers will be able to get back into the building, and they're still unclear right now whether or not they'll have to completely rebuild the site. And
Georgia Comensoli in Melbourne. Thank you very much, Georgia. New South Wales is set to get an early mark out of lockdown, with Freedom Day now likely to fall on October 11, 2 weeks earlier than expected. Amber Laidler is live with the latest. Good morning, Amber. Well, this would be amazing news.
Good morning, and wouldn't it? It's because our vaccination rates are rising much faster than anyone anticipated. Our case numbers today were slightly up on yesterday, but they do still appear relatively stable. 1,063 today. Sadly, another 6 deaths have been recorded. A total of 4 men and 2 women aged in their 50s to their 90s. The Health Minister this morning has commended everyone who's been coming forward and rolling up their sleeves. More than 83.6% of the eligible population has now received their first dose. That includes 28% of those aged 12 to 15-year-old, with more than 55% of New South Wales residents now fully vaccinated.
The second doses 2 days ago were sitting at 53%, so we're going up at about 1% a day for second doses. So that's quite remarkable. I want to thank everybody who's going out there and doing their bit for the community and for themselves.
And Amber, there's another COVID outbreak rocking a major public hospital.
That's right, and there have been positive cases identified across 6 different wards at Liverpool Hospital in Sydney southwest, including neurology, including geriatrics, and even the intensive care ward. So far, 24 patients and 5 fully vaccinated staff have tested positive, but there are concerns this could get far worse because we've seen just how dangerous outbreaks can be in these hospital settings. New South Wales Health this morning has issued a call to arms for any retired doctors, nurses and medical staff to consider returning to the workforce to help in the fight against this COVID crisis. Any of those professionals who have left the workforce within the last 18 months will be able to return if they're willing to help in the fight, Anne.
Amber Laidler in Sydney. Thank you very much, Amber. China has come out swinging, declaring our submarine deal with America will aggravate an arms race on our doorstep. Prime Minister Morrison fronted cameras in Washington, D.C., talking up his support for President Biden. David Woiwod has more from the US Capitol.
It's a diplomatic storm here in the United States Capitol that just rolls on for Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, today confirming relations with France still at an all-time low, laying a wreath at the Pentagon's 9/11 memorial. His schedule in the US Capitol again overshadowed by an angry French government. Joe Biden on the phone, patching things up with his counterpart Emmanuel Macron, the French leader returning a diplomatic presence to Washington.
In terms of the tone of the call, it was friendly. It was one where we're hopeful, and the President is hopeful, this is a step in returning to normal.
But it's a call that'll likely be a long time off for the Australian PM.
The opportunity for that call is not yet, but we'll be patient. We understand their disappointment.
Instead, turning attention to where the AUKUS alliance has been welcomed.
Mr. Prime Minister, it is a privilege to meet with you today.
The US Congress warmly receiving the Australian delegation, bipartisan support for the security pact that continues to ruffle feathers in the Indo-Pacific. China today declaring
武器级核材料
cooperation on nuclear-powered submarine technology between the US, the UK and Australia will gravely undermine regional peace and stability and aggravate an arms race.
As I say, looking to the United States, but never leaving it to the United States.
And to stress that point, Scott Morrison will tomorrow meet with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Pacific Island leaders to send a very clear message that Australia is still an independent regional player.
In Melbourne, police are facing another day of violent protests. To reporter Tegan Dolling. Good morning, Tegan. We're possibly heading into a fourth day of protests. What's the situation there now?
We are, and it's a little bit of a standoff at the moment. It seems like the police are down here at the CFMEU headquarters just waiting to see what their next move is going to be. You can see I've got the mounted branch here behind me, and over on the other side of the road, the critical incident response team, there's about 4 different cars there, as well as the Bearcat. They're some of our heavy hitters here at Victoria Police, and they're all here waiting to see what's going to happen today, Anne, because as we know, there hasn't really been any strong leadership from this mob, this group of protesters who have been out over the last couple of days. But police definitely don't want a repeat of what we saw yesterday, where they were down at the Shrine, one of our most sacred places here in Melbourne. They were in a 3.5-hour standoff with police, who then had to try and disperse the crowd. It got quite heavy-handed and quite violent down there at the end of the day. But police say that they will do whatever they need to make sure places like the Shrine aren't attacked or involved again.
Well, Tegan, a lot of backlash after those scenes yesterday with protesters staging their demonstration at the Shrine of Remembrance.
Yeah, that's right. And what we saw yesterday was that continuing cat and mouse game that they have been doing with police. They snaked their way all through the streets. There was a lot of splinter groups, little groups yesterday, and then they all came together as a bigger group. And as you said, they ended up down at the Shrine. And that was really distressing for a lot of people to see here in Melbourne, especially those that obviously are connected to the RSL. And we spoke to a couple of those people yesterday about exactly what it meant for them to see these kinds of people desecrating the Shrine.
Yesterday's scenes really was quite appalling. It was an absolute slight against the honoured memory of our servicemen and women. The protesters would come to Melbourne's Shrine of Remembrance to pursue their own selfish interests was a disgusting and dreadful thing.
And just a little bit of a waiting game here at the moment. We've seen a few police cars take off, but it seems like most of the crew are here at the moment just waiting to see where the protesters take them today.
All right, hope the day goes well. Tegan Dolling in Melbourne. Thank you very much, Tegan. Aerospace giant Boeing has struck a deal with the Queensland government that will see combat drones built at Toowoomba's Wellcamp Airport. In March, Australia ordered 6 of the aircraft known as the Loyal Wingman. The drones are designed to work in tandem with manned fighter jets and are equipped with artificial intelligence. A moving documentary looking at the life of Prince Philip has been released. It was created to mark his 100th birthday, but was delayed following his death.
It was meant to be the celebration of an extraordinary life on the occasion of Prince Philip's 100th birthday.
I was talking to him, probably the day before he died, and we were talking about his birthday, coming up. And I said, we're talking about your birthday, because he was getting a bit deaf. What? And I said, we're talking about your birthday, and whether there's going to be a reception. He said, well, I've got to be alive for it, haven't I? He said.
But due to the Duke's passing in April, the air date for this unique documentary was pushed back from June to September.
He's always been the sort of heart of the family and always been a huge presence behind everything we've done, really.
Now the world has been given an intimate glimpse into the life of Philip from inside the palace walls, from those closest to him.
He could be quite... he didn't suffer fools gladly, as you know, but he was that sort of calibre of man and the epitome of the stiff upper lip. Go on, get on with it.
The royal family shared stories of his life, his grandchildren even highlighting the Duke's cheekier side.
And if you try and be too clever with him or say something a bit silly, he will jump on it.
How are you, sir? Are you well, sir?
What, do I look ill?
I don't know if anyone's ever described them as adorable, but to me, knowing the cheekiness of him and knowing that behind what the world sees, you have two individuals who were, very much in love, and both who, at a very young age, dedicated their life to service.
It was a fitting tribute for the Duke, who leaves an unrivalled legacy of service, just shy of a century.
What you see is what you got with my grandfather, and that's what I love more than anything else, was the authenticness of him. He was unapologetically him at all times, no matter where he was, no matter who he was speaking to, no matter what he was doing.
In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Coming up next in 7 News, huge delays for online shoppers, how a mass delivery strike will affect you. The incentives on offer for Queenslanders getting vaxxed could score you tickets to the NRL Grand Final. And it's been described as China's Lehman Brothers moment, but a second global financial crisis appears to have been averted. What it means for your super, next. Thousands of postal workers have walked off the job this morning after Star Track lost its bid to prevent industrial action. The transport company was unable to provide evidence to the Fair Work Commission that the strike action would impact the delivery of COVID vaccines. Employees say they want better job security, demanding work be allocated to existing employees before contracting out. Lengthy delivery delays for online shoppers are expected. Free NRL finals tickets are up for grabs for vaccinated Queensland residents. It's part of a pitch to get more people in the state vaccinated. Ben Murphy reports.
Good morning. Queensland's vaccination push has taken a new turn, with thousands of football tickets being made available to those lining up to get the jab. The NRL is giving away 3,000 double passes to anyone getting vaccinated at several key vaccination centres within the state. 2,000 double passes will be given away to Friday's game between the Sea Eagles and Rabbitohs. Another 1,000 double passes given away tomorrow for Saturday's game between the Storm and Panthers. Queensland is still tied for last place with Western Australia in the national double-dose vaccination race. The Premier is pointing to National Cabinet next week and a forthcoming national plan before she is prepared to articulate any reopening targets, becoming quite frustrated at lines of questioning around that topic this morning.
I don't understand this constant criticism of Queensland doing well. I will always stand up for this state. I am sick of being attacked for Queensland doing a great job, and Queenslanders doing a great job.
Queensland has recorded one new community case which is linked to an existing cluster. It is not of any particular concern to authorities.
Thanks, Ben. Donald Trump is suing his niece and the New York Times newspaper for a staggering $100 million. The lawsuit accuses Mary Trump and reporters of being engaged in a plot to obtain confidential documents relating to his tax returns. The former president alleges his niece breached a settlement which barred her from disclosing the documents. Lava from a volcanic eruption in Spain has forced thousands of more residents to flee their homes. Columns of lava spewed high into the air overnight, turning the sky red on the island of La Palma. Families living in the path of the lava flow are rushing to retrieve belongings before their homes are destroyed. A second global financial crisis appears to have been averted after China stepped in to save stricken real estate giant Evergrande. Let's bring in Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton. Good morning, Gemma. How's the market responded?
Good morning, Anne. Well, this news came through halfway through the trading day here yesterday, and instantly Australian shares, which had been falling, rallied and then held on to a strong close. And that relief was also evident in markets throughout Europe and the US overnight, and also helped by messaging from the Federal Reserve that it will likely start raising interest rates in the US next year. That news investors took in their stride as a positive signal about the health of the US and therefore global economy. And that positivity activity has continued today into our local session, with the ASX 200 off to a strong start this morning. Tech shares are today's best performers, with Afterpay and Zip both up around 4%. The Aussie dollar did slip overnight and is continuing to slide in today's session. It's now buying 72.3 US cents.
Gemma Acton reporting. Thanks a lot, Gemma. Next in 7 News, we'll have sport with Jackie Felgate, including breaking AFL news, plus the latest ahead of the NRL Grand Final qualifiers. And Australia's Rhiannon Ifland continues her remarkable domination of the Cliff Diving World Series.
Good morning. We begin with breaking AFL news, and Carlton have confirmed Michael Voss as their new head coach. Tom Brown is at Optus Stadium in Perth ahead of the grand final. Good morning, Tom. Blues bosses finalised their decision just a short time ago.
Good morning, Jack. Just minutes ago, it was a fair hint yesterday when Voss arrived in Melbourne out of quarantine with at least 2 weeks' worth of luggage, but it's official for Michael Voss this morning. He's got a 3-year contract to coach the Blues. It's Voss's chance at redemption. He previously coached the Lions. It is a tough task in football. Carlton expect, according to their president Luke Sayers, to play finals next year, but Voss has another chance at senior coaching official this morning. Of course, Jack, all the focus on the grand final build-up here at Optus Stadium. In a few minutes, Gil McLachlan, the AFL CEO, and Mark McGowan, the WA Premier, will do their first joint press conference along with the acts for the grand final on Saturday, the music acts. That'll be spectacular pictures. The AFL just telling me they've had another assurance this morning there's no issues in regards to this one COVID case in WA, but Mark McGowan will give an update on that situation shortly, Jack.
A very big day. Thank you, Tom. Manly coach Des Hasler says Brad Parker and Sean Kepi have recovered from injury, making the Sea Eagles fully fit and ready for tomorrow night's preliminary final against the Rabbitohs in Brisbane. While record try scorer Tom Trbojevic attracts attention, Hasler believes captain Daly Cherry Evans has come of age this season.
One of the hardest things with leadership is, you have to be able to share yourself as much as what you do, concentrating on your own individual game. He does that with aplomb, and he does it so well.
I've been watching him play this year, and he's played good football. He's always been a footballer, no doubt, but he's just probably gone that next level.
In the past 3 years, Souths have made the prelim final but failed to go on to the grand final. The IPL has been rocked by a positive COVID test just days after the tournament resumed in the Middle East. David Warner's Hyderabad teammate Thangarasu Natarajan is isolating along with several close contacts. Hyderabad's match with Delhi still went ahead, although Warner may have wished that it didn't.
We would relish this opportunity.
Oh, high. This should be taken, should be comfortable, is. And that is a great start for Nokia, a poor one for Warner, a leading edge.
The Aussie opener fell for a duck before Delhi threw everything into chasing their 135-run target. Ricky Ponting's Capitals won by 8 wickets to move to the top of the points table. The A-League finally has a start date, with the season to begin on Friday, November 19th. Manchester United has crashed out of the League Cup with a 1-0 loss to West Ham. With royalty in attendance, Chelsea advanced to the 4th round after beating Aston Villa 4-3 in a tense penalty shootout.
Reece James, that's a belter, and Chelsea are through.
Tottenham also progressed on penalties after losing a 2-0 lead to Wolves. And Australia's Rhiannon Ifland has won the Cliff Diving World Series for a 5th time. The 30-year-old from Newcastle continues to dominate the series. Victory in the latest round in Italy extends her winning streak to a phenomenal 12 events.
I'm so stoked. I can breathe easily now going into the last event of the season. So now I'm really excited for that one, just to enjoy it.
The divers will remain in Italy for the final round of the series this weekend. That is fairly amazing pictures there, Anne. Certainly
they are
feel that in the pit of your stomach, don't you?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Jack. Next in 7's Morning News, we'll have the national weather forecast for you. Taking a look at the weather around the country now, winds are strengthening in Tasmania ahead of a gusty cold front, while a trough along the WA coast is triggering the odd light shower. A broad high-pressure system is dominant in the rest of the country, with hot winds elevating fire danger in the north. Around the capital, sunny in Brisbane, a top of 25 degrees. Fine in Sydney, also hitting 25 today. Early fog for Canberra before reaching 20. 21 and mostly sunny in Melbourne. Showers clearing in Hobart, a top of 17 today. 20 degrees in Adelaide and mostly sunny. Sunshine increasing in Perth, a top of 25 degrees. And warm and sunny in Darwin, hitting a top of 34 degrees. That's 7 News to now. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day. Our next major bulletin is coming up at 4 p.m. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Have a lovely day.